Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Chairman, for your leadership, and of course my friend Senator Markey, who has led on this as he has led on so many other important issues with great political courage and an understanding of the needs of the American people. I wish we did not have to stand here today. I wish we didn't have a far-right Supreme Court majority that is hostile to democracy itself, but here we are. And the fact is, if we want to save our democracy, we must act before it is too late by restoring balance to the Supreme Court. Our democracy faces its greatest test since Jim Crow. From the insurrection at the Capitol to the racist voter suppression being attempted all throughout the United States of America, the far right is at war with our democracy. And what I want people to understand is that this crisis did not arrive overnight. Rather, the Supreme Court has been an accomplice. In fact, the Supreme Court, specifically the Roberts Court, has been working to dismantle our democracy for years. One decision at a time, the right-wing majority on the Supreme Court has unraveled the greatest achievements of the civil rights movement: to produce a government that does not look like, understand, or even pretend to represent the American people. Every time we needed the Roberts Court to stand up for government by the people, the court chose government by the powerful. In its Citizens United decision in the year 2010, it opened the floodgates to a torrent of dark corporate money in our elections. Years later, 3 years later, in fact, in Shelby County v. Holder, the Roberts Court gutted the crown jewel of the Voting Rights Act, which set the stage for what we are now seeing with SB 202 in Georgia and other racist attempts to suppress the right of Americans to vote in this country. Of course, more recently, in 2019, a decision called Rucho v. Common Cause, the Supreme Court, specifically the Roberts Court, gave a green light to partisan gerrymandering, further entrenching minority rule. Shamefully, the Roberts Court has never struck down a single voter suppression law as unconstitutional. Not a single one. My goodness. Decisions like these have created a path for the far right to remain in power, despite being roundly and repeatedly rejected by the American people. It is simply a fact that Republican presidential candidates have lost the popular vote in 7 of the last 8 presidential elections. Yet only 4 of the last 19 Supreme Court justices have been appointed by Democratic presidents. So let's be clear. The far right did whatever it could to capture the court. They invented a non-existent rule to hold open Merrick Garland's seat for 14 months before confirming Neil Gorsuch. And they violated their own rule just 4 years later to confirm Amy Coney Barrett, while an election was already underway. Votes were already being tabulated. The far right will now do whatever it can to maintain its grip on power. Today, bolstered by the confirmation of Amy Coney Barrett, this court will go further than any other in modern American history to rig our democracy in favor of the far right and the special interests that bankroll them. In doing so, the far right conservative majority will maintain minority rule for generations to come. That is, unless we stop them. In his parting words to this nation, the late Congressman John Lewis said, "Democracy is not a state. It is an act, and each generation must do its part." That is why today we are introducing the Judiciary Act of 2021. To act, to do our part. Our bill is simple. It adds 4 justices to the U.S. Supreme Court. When those seats are filled, we will finally have a court committed to government by the people. The Constitution, for its part, is clear. When the Supreme Court will not respect the will of the people, Congress has the power and the duty to expand the Supreme Court. And in fact, as you have heard today, Congress has done it 7 times before. Expanding the court is not about political parties. Justices John Paul Stevens and David Souter were Republicans, and they were appointed by Republican presidents of the United States. They were committed to the rule of law and to the right of everyone in this country to vote. Not so today. Court expansion, then, is about saving our democracy. Expanding the court would restore our right to choose the world that we wish to live in. We can still have a democracy if we fight for it. And that is precisely what we are doing today through the introduction of this bill. Thank you.
Questions? Yes, ma'am.